Hey, how does handiwork reduce anxiety? Oh gosh, this one's going to be so much fun. This is what I really love to talk about so much. Not only have I been inordinately satisfied myself when things have been less than pleasant in my life by picking up either knitting or crocheting or embroidery or quilting or sewing, whatever it is, and found myself to mentally just drift away from whatever's going on. But I've met a lot of people recently because of all the anxiety and the unprecedented things going on, and the fact that there's a lot of stress through climate and politics and wars and economic stress. There's just so many things going on. I've talked to lots of people from all kinds of different groups. I've talked to my drug and alcohol and trauma reduction groups, recovery groups. I've talked to collapse groups. I've talked to old lady groups. I've talked to people who are very concerned about the wars and the politics of our lives right now. And in every case, in every single case, there has been someone who said, oh, knitting helps. Oh, crocheting grandma squares helps. Oh, sewing helps. Oh, crocheting helps. So many people have said the same thing. And it's not just because you start to pick up this item so much as someone who has had the item in their life and set it down and picked it back up. So I'm not saying this is the only kind of handiwork. And the difference between handiwork and handwork is carpentry. Handiwork is usually creative, artistic things. We might even call cooking handiwork because so many of us try to express a lot of color and texture and that sort of things and different flavors and stuff in our cooking. Anything that takes your mind away. You know, we have mental, we have emotional, and we have physical anxiety. It comes in all different factors. And what we want to do is kind of overcome some of that. Especially, now I've seen a lot of people do reading when they have a sick child, especially reading to the child. And that's not handiwork, that's reading. But I have also seen people who even take their crocheting to a football game. Maybe you want to be with the family, but you're really not into what's going on. Or maybe you are into what's going on, but you don't want to look at everybody because you're shy. I mean, there's just so many different reasons why picking up handiwork is helpful, especially for anxiety. Now, for me, I want to show you some of these. My biggest anxiety is that people aren't paying attention to the earth the way I wish they were. I wish people would do some more recycling, and I wish more people would consider solar, and I wish more people would consider hanging up their clothes or washing their dishes by hand or whatever little thing they can do so that our environment is less impacted by the climate change. And so years ago, I thought I was going to be a jeweler in silver and gold, and that didn't happen because it's not sustainable. So in recent years, when I did a lot of crocheting, I made so many shawls and things, I can't use them and give them away. There can't be too many. That I decided to look at doing something with jewelry that wasn't outside the sustainable program. And that's when I came up with these pins. Now, this is an example of one, and they're in these bags that keep them from getting wet or damaged. And they're all labeled with a number because no two are alike. But you can see this is a stainless steel pin on the back. And this is crocheting on the back. And this is crocheting on the front. Plus, I have all kinds of beads and charms and buttons and things that I've had for forever. And I just bring them, like this one has turquoise. But this one is also on quilted fabric. I make two kinds. One kind is just crocheting, and the other kind, the backing is quilting. So there's two different kinds, and usually they have a different, this one has a brass pin. This is more appropriate for a backpack, a scarf, a blazer, even a curtain. It's just, if it's hanging there and you know that the reason you bought it was to remind you to respect the earth and to take care of yourself. And that's what I'm all about. I'm all about self-help and taking care of the earth. Here's a couple more that I wanted to show you. They're all different. Every single one is different. And also I'm going to talk to you about the way I made these, but not right this minute. First, I want to show you one of my wall hangings. This is a wall hanging. You put this in your house. It has a heart. And this heart, this white is oxygen, and the other colors are veins and arteries. This is the second heart, and this represents our earth. So the oxygen flows through all of us, and so do the veins and arteries. It's to remind us that all the earth is connected. And I've made a lot of these because I really feel strongly that at some point, people will be interested in having things in their homes that remind them of taking care of our earth. And so, since I know that it's likely that I will be short a husband at some point, I'll be a widow, I need to have something that I can do within my nonprofit to keep going with things that we have obligations to do, because we've been going for about 34 years. Okay, so what's exciting to me and what helps me reduce anxiety? Okay, this is not expensive. This is much cheaper than a therapist. Okay, this is a crochet hook. And these are crochet hooks. These are a little bit larger. You can just barely see. Oh, afraid you can't. There we go. See, those are a little bit bigger. This one is real tiny. Some of them are tiny, like almost as tiny as a needle. I can't seem to get it in the right spot to show you to you. It's so tiny. And you need a crochet hook. You need a pair of scissors. And most people want a tapestry needle, really tiny. Try that again. This one seemed to work. Can you see? Yeah, it's really tiny. And then you first make a piece like this. Now, this is called freeform crochet. What I have discovered is when I follow a pattern, which is wonderful because you know ahead of time what you're going to get, except you don't know if it's going to be a little too big or a little too small, which comes from how tightly you hold your yarn. And especially when you're new, you tend to hold it real tight. And when you've crocheted for a number of years, like I have, you hold it looser. I've done it for decades. But you get to a place where when my yarn comes, because I only buy sustainable yarn. Sustainable yarn is not cheap. It comes from real sheep for wool, or real trees for some of the cellulose products, or the hemps, bamboos. And when they come, you have to feel that sense of sustainability. The fact that you know that one sheep female and one male makes another sheep, and then you got more wool. And it can continue like that for as long as the sheep live. The sheep live. That's important, because as you're working with the natural products, now this one here, this one is made from cotton and cashmere. They've blended the two. Oftentimes they'll blend them, like they might use hemp and cotton, or they might use bamboo with linen, or whatever it is, to get the different textures, because actually when you're working with the product, you feel all these different textures. And then there's little things that you can buy, like, I just love this. This bowl is made out of wood, and you put your ball of yarn in here, and then you wind it through there, and it pulls out, and it just feels so natural and so special, really special. Whether you're making a sweater for yourself or you're making something for someone else, I've frequently made Christmas gifts myself, and I've never had anyone feel slighted by me not buying something. And of course, it goes along so much more with our modern philosophy of doing things that have a little more connection. I've even worked for groups where we bought lots of yarn from lots of clothing from stores, and a women's group, we did this. We would buy clothing from stores, from recycled stores, and we would take the yarn apart and either knit or crochet something ourselves, like hats or gloves, or if we had homeless people who needed the little skull caps or scarves. Those are easy to do, and we would make things like that. Or if we were teaching someone how to crochet so that they could make things that they could sell, but they could make it from the yarn that didn't cost them anything, because the crochet hooks are very inexpensive, and so are our knitting needles are very, very inexpensive. I've had surgery on both this hand 3 times, hand and arm 3 times, and this one once. And I find that the crochet, the knitting needles are much harder for me to use now. And especially now that they make these ergonomic handles. These are really good too for people who are a little older, because the needles themselves can be awfully small and very, very thin, and it's harder to feel as you get older. But the ergonomic handles, and one thing is they're a rubbery product, so they're easier to hold on to, and they have grip for the fingers that, works out really well to be able to hold them correctly. And it feels nice just to know that somebody cares when you're a little bit older, and you still don't want to give up your habit, especially when it relieves the anxiety so much. I just can't tell you. And then it's exciting too, because you take a color, and then you can take a different color and put it next to it and decide whether you like that. And then maybe you want to take a third color and put them together and try to decide whether you think they're going to look good together or not. And it's really up to you. You know, this is a power and control situation. You get to decide. And now that's why I wanted to talk to you about free form crochet. That's what I do. I do free form. That means that nothing I do looks the same, but over the years I've learned different stitches, and like this stitch has a little raised place here, and this has some open holes in it. And this also has some open holes in it. The idea of freeform is, and it's good for your self-esteem, because you get to pick how you want to do it. And there's nobody telling you did it wrong. There's no pattern saying you dropped a stitch or you picked up an extra stitch or nothing. You just, or the colors are wrong. I mean, it's really freeing to work on something where you don't feel like you have to answer to anybody. And if somebody doesn't like it, that's okay, because they're really little. And at first, I have to admit that at first, it makes more sense to start with a little bit bigger hook and a little bit bigger yarn. The yarn is bigger around and the hook is bigger around. And there's all kinds of measuring and stuff, but you don't have to pay attention to that if you do free form. You don't have to worry about how many stitches to an inch. And you don't have to worry about how tight or how loose you hold the yarn. The yarn typically, now everybody does it a little differently, and there's nothing wrong with that. But typically, you put the yarn through your hands in such a way that the tension of your hands actually is what gives the tension to the yarn. And the yarn itself, there's a lot of different ways you can do it, but you're just going to make a loop. And then when you make the loop, you start making another loop. And you draw it through the first loop. And there you have something knotted. And it's just a series of knots. And it's sort of like, I just last night, I was kind of being nostalgic. And I listened to The Scent of a Woman. There's a beautiful part in the movie, The Scent of a Woman, where the blind man invites her to dance the tango. He wants to teach her the tango. And she says, "Oh, I'm so afraid of making a mistake." And he says, "Well, there's mistakes in life, but there's no tango. There's no mistakes in the tango. You just tango along." And I heard that, and I thought about so much of the anxiety that's going on right now has to do with the feeling that we can't just tango along. We have so many things going on that aren't under our own watchful eye or control or emotional ability to change in any way other than the space between our ears. The only thing we can do at this point is work on our own outlook of what's going on. And it's very comforting to have something that, and I it's messy, okay? It's messy. It's a good idea to have a nice big bag that you can put things on. I've got these things sitting here on the, in boxes to show to you. But a lot of people, and there's a lot of them you can buy. You can buy bags that are made of cloth. There's even some really cute ones where there's a couple of sticks, and then on the side it's crisscrossed, and you're able to fold the cloth bag that's being held on the sticks. So sort of like the wall hanging I showed you. The wall hanging wraps over. Well, this item wraps over the stick, and then you can, because the sticks are crossed, they can go together like this with the pin that's in them. They go together like this, and that way the bag can close up. So, but it's cloth, so it can be fat on the outside, but the wooden pieces, the dowels, close up. It's so nice because when you reach down, like these boxes, it's open. And you can make them yourself. Oh, of course, with scraps. Take some old blue jeans and make them out of blue jeans. It doesn't matter. And that's what I like to do. It doesn't matter to me whether I'm repurposing something or have some leftover fabric or what it is. The idea is to be able to take something and make something. Old sheets, those are great for making, if you like to make rugs. I've met a lot of men who like to make braided rugs. anything like that, handiwork, 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 can be so incredibly satisfying and so relaxing. And it gives you the opportunity to express yourself as you would like to feel, as opposed to the anxiety you might have felt before you started. And so even though the rest of the family may be feeling a lot of anxiety, you're calmly preparing breakfast or lunch or dinner or whatever it is, because you've had this outlet. And it has to do too with self-love, because if you don't stop and do it, if you push yourself to do whatever housework you're going to be doing that day, or laundry you're going to be doing that day, or shopping, you can actually make yourself so incredibly uncomfortable that you're no good to your family or yourself. And at this point, I'm mostly speaking to women, but there are house husbands too. My son-in-law does a great deal of work for our daughter, because he has a very early job and has his afternoons free, and he can go do some of the shopping because she's a university president, and so she's there all day, can't get away. So it's really handy. But I'm reminding you men that a lot of men make braided rugs. They make it from scraps. You have to find something. And I know that some people watch sports and that sort of thing, but we also recognize that spending all day on electronics isn't the best option either, when there's anxiety and concern and unprecedented. That's a word I never had thought I would hear again, but I keep hearing it all the time. Unprecedented. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have any questions, please put them down below. As soon as I can figure out how to get to the contacts, comments, I will certainly answer them. I've had a little trouble with that, and I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. I hit the word that said comments, and I didn't do it, but I'm going to get it. But I want to hear from you. I really want to hear if you have any questions or concerns or anything you'd like to understand more, and where to get the best prices on yarns and the best tools to use, especially when you're brand new. There are several different brands that have been reliable for a number of years. My grandmother's crochet hooks were all made out of bone or wood, but now they make them mostly out of metal. And then they have the rubber on them, and they're really, really easy to use, much easier to use. And then again, you have to decide whether you're going to buy the natural yarns or whether you're going to use the acrylics. A lot of people start with the acrylics, especially if you're teaching a child how to use them. They dry easy and they're wash easy, and they're very, very inexpensive. But the natural yarns, of course, are more expensive, just like organic food, but certainly worth. When you're done, you have a beautiful, magnificent piece. Oh, some of the pieces I've made are they're breathtaking. Every time I put them on, I feel like a princess. I really do. I just feel so fortunate to have something so lovely on me, something that I made every single stitch of. Anyway, when you're down there, look around, see what my nonprofit has done, our nonprofit has done over a number of years. 34 years we've been working with different people in different parts of the world. And it's been very satisfying. And we've also made the items to remind you about taking care of the earth. And have a look. There's two of us that are artists, and there might be something there that would help you remember the earth and remember this day when we talk together. We're not really together, but it feels like I'm talking to you. Feels just like you're right here with me on the patio in Ecuador, looking at the mountains all behind me, listening to the water, watering the bananas. And I really want to thank you for being here today. Goodbye.